Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Folks, it's time to continue our discussion about the Jedi Apprentice series, and we're going to take on the next 6 books here, so let's get to it, right? Let's go to book 7, called Captive Temple. Now in this, Xanatos returns with an apprentice called Brooke Chun, and Brooke and Obi-Wan are going to fight. Xanatos is going to be stopped here, but he's not going to be captured. Now, there's one thing about this series that I do want to point out. In the series, Ki-Adi-Mundi is in it, and he's described as being on the Jedi Council, which was seen in Episode 1. However, this is years before Episode 1, and according to a comic book series on Ki-Adi-Mundi, which I'll get to later, it's told us that he is not yet on the Council. Uh-oh, is that a contradiction? Uh-oh. No. We later learn that Ki-Adi-Mundi sat on the council temporarily in place of a Jedi who would be gone periodically. So Ki-Adi-Mundi would sit in his spot whenever he was needed. And as you know, Ki-Adi-Mundi is given special treatment within the Jedi Order. More on that later. But here in Book 7, we get to see the return of Xanatos and his apprentice, which I thought was neat. Of course, they had to give him someone for Obi-Wan to fight, right? The Xanatos story is so interesting. Xanatos is interesting as a character alone, and to be honest, that's probably one of the big reasons that I love Jedi, the Dark Side comic book series so much, because we got to see Xanatos and Obi-Wan together and see what they used to be like back when we were reading the Jedi Apprentice series. We only saw what they are now. Remember, that comic book series came out after the Jedi Apprentice series, but chronologically it takes place before. So after that, it's time to go to book number 8. And book number 8 is Day of Reckoning. Now in this one, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan finally defeat Xanatos, and they renew their bond. It's from the fallout of Melinda Dan. Yeah, they came back together, but Obi-Wan could sense Qui-Gon felt betrayal, and he was kind of hurt by that. And I'll get into this in a minute, but one of the things that Qui-Gon has a weakness in, he trusts everyone, he wants to think best of everyone, but he's hard on himself, and we see that in this series. That's why this series is so good. Remember I told you last week, it gives us a lot of perspective on what Qui-Gon thought about? Well, he loves the living force, okay, and he passes that love down to Obi-Wan that we see later on in the trilogy. So for that reason alone, again, these books are incredible. But let's move on to book number 9. And book number 9 is called Fight for Truth. Now, in this book, many months have passed since the last book. And this is basically Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. They're heading to a planet to visit a Force-sensitive girl and to see if she's ready to come to the temple. But the planet isn't ready to accept them. One of the cool things about this book here, it introduces Siri, a girl that Obi-Wan is long friends with, into the other books as well, and a really good character. Again, the side characters they've given me, I'm skipping some of the side characters they meet in these books, but basically, remember, Qui-Gon believes in the living force, so everyone, he gives everyone a chance. Remember in the movie, he gave Jar Jar a chance, and everyone else, and Obi-Wan's like, oh no, another pathetic life form. I agree with Obi-Wan about Jar Jar. But anyway, I digress. We see that love of the living force in Qui-Gon throughout this series. Now, after this, you need to go, of course, to book 10. Now, book 10 is called Shattered Peace. And it's basically, they're trying to make a peace settlement, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, on this planet. Now, again, many months have passed in between this book and the last one preceding it. So they kind of speed up the timeline a little bit, and I like that. I don't like back-to-back-to-back-to-back adventures like we had in the first, I think it was 7 books. They were pretty close together. These are spent months apart, basically when the last book came out. So it makes it feel a little bit more real, and that you didn't miss out on stuff, or they're not stuck in time or whatever. Like a long comic book run or something. Next up is book 11, called Deadly Hunter. Now in this one, it introduces the scientist Jenna Zan Arbor. Another great book, another great series in the Jedi Apprentice, well actually I should say storyline, in the Jedi Apprentice series that I just love. Janazan Arbor is a great character, a great villain, and you get to see more of her in the books later on. So this is just her first introduction. You want to keep continuing on. At the end of the book, actually, it's not a spoiler because I got to talk about it before I get to the next book, she captures Qui-Gon. So in book 12, called The Evil Experiment, while Qui-Gon's being, experimented on, Obi-Wan's going on a mission to go save him. Again, the dynamics between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan is learning. He's making mistakes, but he's learning. He's gaining that wisdom which Qui-Gon says he has in episode 1, right? You're going to grow to be a very wise man. Well, this is Obi-Wan taking those steps to becoming the man he soon will become. Just another great reason why I love this series. If you aren't reading this series yet, why not? Get on it! I love the Jedi Apprentice series, obviously. I keep talking about it, and I've even broken this up into 3 parts. That's right. We'll see you next week for part 3.
Your friends are meeting us, right? I mean, what are you? Like a bear? A dog? Like a little chow or something? You want to catch a movie?